everybody. It's just a few seconds before the 11 o'clock hour, and we're so fortunate to have Adobe join us. We have Mr. Eric Rowse. He's a senior solutions consultant at Adobe. Hi, Eric.
Good morning.
Good morning. Before joining Adobe in 2012, Eric's history has included Creative Suite instructor, adjunct professor, art director, animator, and pre-web CD-ROM era designer. He's a firm believer that passion and vision, when paired with the correct tools, can produce outstanding digital stories in the world can enjoy. He's an avid long-distance motorcycle rider, having traveled coast to coast twice. I'd love to hear more about that, and logged 2,600 miles riding through Europe. So I love, Eric, that this bio really speaks to an entrepreneurial mindset, and that you've managed to create and use that mindset inside Adobe. So welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Sherry. Very, very happy to speak to this group. It is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I studied film, I studied architecture, I studied fine arts, and concluded with animation. And each one of those is a heavily visually oriented style of outcome. But really, what was motivating me behind the scenes was storytelling. And quite honestly, storytelling is, I find, essential for entrepreneurship or business in any stripe or form, because it's not enough to say, I created this. You got to tell somebody why you created this. And it's the why. The why is the motivator. That's the compelling element. And of course, Simon Sinek, and you probably mentioned him many times. I truly love Simon Sinek's piece about getting to why. Yes. Because it's not what you do, it's why you do it. And all these little kind of things are kind of trickling into my mind, motivating me. And actually, I just want to throw something into the chat before we get started as well. I had the opportunity to listen to Lori Chiadia speak at a conference in Boston in 2017. Lori is the Associate VP of Brand Management at Humana. Of course, Humana is downtown in Louisville. So if you haven't had her on campus, I recommend trying to get her in to talk to your business, your entrepreneurship people, because she had some wonderful things to say about brand. I'm going to copy and paste in my notes from that conference I was at in 2017. It looks like the chat is blocked, unfortunately. Well, I'll be sure to email that out to Lori or Elena, and then Elena can forward it out. But one of the things that I just wanted to say was a quote from Walter Landor, kind of a legendary in that aspect of brand and creation. Is products are created in the factory, but brands are created in the mind. And, brand's just not a logo. It's a mechanism of communication for differentiation. Put that on a t-shirt, mechanism of communication for differentiation. And mostly it comes out through shapes and color and then language. But what I've got in the Adobe bag of awesome is Adobe Express. And it can be that vehicle that can get that idea out of your mind for those that say, I can't draw a straight line, but boy, I have this really wonderful idea and I'm struggling with how I can communicate it out to the world. So I think Express will be a wonderful way that I can show you all what it is, how it works, what you can create, and then you can turn around and make some really, really intriguing materials, content, to help support your brand and ultimately your entrepreneurial objectives. So with that, I'd be happy to get rolling on how you can build, make, and create inside Express.
Thanks so much. We look forward to seeing this.
Excellent. So what is Express? Adobe Express is a browser-based creation apparatus. So zero IT lift on this. I just go to a browser, express.adobe.com. And I put in my credentials. In my case, these are my Adobe credentials. You put in your Louisville credentials. From here, this intro page is really the truth of the matter. What do you want to make today? Do you want to make content for social media? Do you want to make content for video? Do you want to make photo? Do you want to do long documents? Do you want to make some marketing material? Do you even want to use generative AI? Yes, generative AI is hardwired into Express. So if you've got a really nifty product shot for your gizmo of interest, maybe it's this, my little micro tripod I take on the road with me that I got on Amazon. Well, maybe I need to have this little thing sitting on a desk in an office somewhere. Oh, I could use AI to generate a nice little background, and I can place my product on top of it. Okay, let me see if I can copy and paste in the chat one more time because I now see the chat. There we go. All right, so I just put my notes that I wanted to express from Laurie, talking about the power of brand. Again, that's from 2017. I still read it and review it. It's a great session of knowledge there. Anyway, what can I make and express? Well, purple plus sign is your door to how do I get started? Do I want to make a presentation, like as in PowerPointian presentation? Yes, I can do that in Express. Do I want to make a flyer? Do I want to make social media content? Do I want to make video? As in I can record, edit, render, and distribute all via video. Do I want to cut a poster? Maybe put together a web page? I can put together long format HTML. Okay, zero HTML coding knowledge. You don't need to know about cascading style sheets, none of it. You just have your pile of assets, and then you aggregate and assemble them inside Express using pre-built mechanisms of, do I want to have image occupy full screen left and text occupy full screen right, and so on. We'll get to that. Other different means and mechanisms of creating content. But also, I just want to point out too, right next to it is this element called quick actions. And quick actions are these little cherry-picked items that come out of Photoshop, come out of Illustrator, come out of Premiere, because I find Express to be this wonderful aggregation, distillation. That's the word I was looking for. I use aggregation. Express is a distillation of the best elements of Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. So stuff that normally I'd have to go to say, oh, I've got this great picture, but I got to punch the background out. Well, I don't have the time to go do a LinkedIn learning lesson for 40 minutes on one of the 7 different ways, not kidding, one of the 7 different ways of extracting content from an image in Photoshop. All I have to do is find the image, and I will find my image, and then I'll put it in the page. There we go. If you can't make fun of yourself, who can't you make fun of? I do not like chicory coffee at Cafe Du Monde down in New Orleans. That's Jackson Square. So I want to have this frowny face picture, but drop out the background. Well, all I do is I pick the picture and I bring it into Express. And after 3 seconds, look what it did. It punched out the background without having any kind of halo from the other pixels that my image was sitting on. Nice, clean, and easy. I'm a big fan of click reduction. Like the old commercial, how many licks does it take to get the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop? See, look at that. I'm influenced by brand. I just brought that image in, and one click, it is done. It is knocked out. So either I can download it as a separate entity, or I can use this kind of thought process as a compositing mechanism for building my content. So quick actions, wonderful, loaded with stuff. Like here's another one. If I want to generate a QR code, so let's say I put together a really cool long format HTML piece in Express, and I want to be able to have an easier way of giving people that information. Let's say I'm at a career fair or at some kind of a trade show conference, and I see students doing this very commonly. They have a QR code on their mobile device, and they just walk around the show, and the hiring manager scan the QR code, and it takes that individual right to their material. Normally, I'd have to do this in another application, but here all I do is I just put in the HTTPS, boom, and I get a QR code just like that. Now, of course, it could be a more complex HTML listing, but this is more about proving the concept. And then I can download this as any kind of file format that I'm really looking for. PNG, JPEG, SVG. Can I pick the color? Sure. What style do I want? Borders, rounded, and so on. Easy. What did I not do? I didn't leave Express to do it. I came to my quick actions and I was able to do a lot of stuff, even adding captions to video. So maybe you have a great promotional video that you have cut, 30 seconds long, and you're like, oh, wait, I received this from somebody. I didn't engineer this. And then it's like, oh man, it's on me. I got to put captions in this. No, I don't want to go back and hire that freelancer another 3, 4, 5 hours to put captioning on it. I can do that myself. I just have to go in and find that video, come back down to here, come into video, there's Tull. So that's my sample video. And now what's happening is this dialogue is being kicked up to the cloud. It's being studied by our artificial intelligence. And then it's going to punch out caption words right on screen. And I'll see a live editor that will allow me to alter the words if the captioning was misstated or misspoken, or even pick a different look and feel for the text that's on the screen. So a couple more bits to go on that. So kind of where I'm getting at with this is you can use Express as a absolute creation engine. I'm making stills, making video, putting together HTML, or I could use it as a processing engine, as in I need to do some things in an Acrobat. I need to edit some Acrobat files. Great, bring it into Express. I got to add captions to this video, and I'm just going to scroll this back. You can see that good afternoon and welcome to the power of Adobe. We're Eric Roberts. No, my name isn't Eric Roberts. It's Eric Rowse. Just like that, I change it right on the fly without having to open up another application. When I'm done, I can download this or pick a different look and feel for how the text will be appearing on the screen. Or I can even do custom colors, meaning, ooh, brand. Yes, Express understands brand. So I'll show you where you can go to create a brand, because if you're working on a proposal, you want to have continuity of look and feel, of text, of image. I can build a brand entity inside Express and use it on my projects as well. So quick actions. It's highly worth kind of scrolling through there, seeing, well, what can I do? I can convert files, I can crop files, I can resize images, I can knock out backgrounds, and so on. But let's look at what can be built, and I'll kind of step you through the process of how it would be built or made or engineered. So I'm going to go into the My Stuff folder where I have some projects. So let's say I need to build a poster. Kind of a innocuous thing. We see it all the time. I can't remember. I've been on campus once, whether you have those central cylindrical columns and you have hundreds of thousands of staples with old paper stuck to it, or maybe you have digital signage in which you can put these things on screen. Let's say I need to make something for a tennis club, maybe because I'm trying to gather people to an event. I'm choosing tennis, but why am I choosing tennis? Because, well, it's my idea to make something, but I don't have a good sense of typographic usage, of structure, of balancing of image, of graphics. I know what I want to say, but I might be a little unsure of how to say it. Well, you use a template. This is the template that's on screen right now. What I had done is I had gone into Express, I did a search for a template called tennis player. And out of the couple hundred variants I had received, I chose this one. Now, you're probably looking at, whoa, wait a minute, you're not doing the design. In my background on this is coming from that architecture, film, animation, and fine arts standpoint. We're unconsciously influenced by everything we see around us. So in my frame of mind, I think a template is a starting point. It is not a conclusion. So I can start with a template and then start to personalize it in going to find an image and knocking out that background of that image. Well, how did I get that image in the page? I could come over to media, and this media will allow me to search over 200 million assets. Tennis player. And in this case, tennis player nets me 81,000 images. So I scrolled through the list and I found the one that was of interest. Okay, and all I did is I picked it, and then once that character is on the page, oh, look at that, because only people because they're watching. There it goes. Remove background took a little bit. I just one click remove background, and as it's processing that request, there we go. So I could have this dude in here, or I had chosen this woman. Either way, it's very easy to go find an asset from a pile of assets that you have at your disposal, royalty-free. Nobody's going to come after you. The next step, I was able to expand the size of this character by just increasing it. I changed the color. So I can click on this typography and pick the font that would work best for me. Or I could choose the color that could be part of my branded identity for what I'm trying to make as a business person or an entrepreneur. Very easy just to say, well, no, really, that should be my fictional university called Altura University, my demo environment. I could pick any color that I need, and then these colors could be used as my guideposts as I start to build, make, and create content moving forward. U of L red and black, there you go. So very easy. I don't know the hexadecimal value for those colors, but very much, Sherry, you could very easily come into Fill and say, okay, yeah, I do know the hex value, custom. I can put it in right there. As in, I'd put in the 6-digit hexadecimal value that would represent Louisville red or black, or the color of your brand that you are building, making, and creating. So it can easily change the typographic properties, scale of font, change color. In this case, I decided to put an outline around that text. Well, how do I do that? Well, there's outline right here. Either I do want to have an outline, or I don't want to have an outline. So outline gone on join, or on join us, it's back. Turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. Easy. And what I like about this is these are the kinds of building blocks and use of application that can be a stepping stool out into our pro level tools like Photoshop, like Illustrator, like InDesign. So Express very much can scaffold your skills to say, okay, yeah, maybe I am ready to try something in desktop layout. Maybe I'll try InDesign. Or maybe I am trying to do a little bit more photo manipulation. Great, I'm going to jump into Photoshop because the look and the feel and the text and the treatment of these icons and choices will be just the same moving into the other applications. And this can even be animated, where I can have the various characters come on screen just by clicking them and then choosing animate down here at the bottom. What do I want to have it do? In this case, well, I chose bungee, but I can come back to that list and do bungee or drift or fade. Dealer's choice, whatever helps make your element pop on screen. Oh, okay, look at that, pop. There it is, and I back it up, and I play it. But where did this all start? This all started with a template. And me just doing a search inside Express. So again, let me show you how I got to that template, and let me show you some other ways of creating content. Top left-hand corner allows me to search on templates, and then I do tennis club. I get 92 hits, or maybe I do tennis, and I get 341 hits. So I can scroll through this list and find something that's of image that's of interest to me, and then I start riffing on it. So you can see here's that same character that I had replaced, this gentleman with the white headband. He's not quite John McEnroe, but he's trying hard. He's got the headband. That's a start. There it is. So that was the template that I started with. And then all you do is you say, yeah, well, I want to customize this. And here's your starting point, just like we kicked off in me building my other material. And then I start changing the elements around it. So templates, exceptionally valuable. It's a great way of getting past the frustration of saying, I need to start my idea, but I don't know how to put on the text. I don't know how to get the images in place and so on. Well, that's not hard to do once you start learning some basic tricks. So let's look at another thing that I've created. Let's say, again, making another poster about, hey, there's a new VR virtual lab space on campus. In this case, this is going to be more of a generic idea because I need to put some characters on this page that are like, oh, great, students of interest. That'll get people in here. Well, I start with, well, I need a person. I need a person on screen. Well, I go to media because that's where I find things. So I could put in student wearing hooded sweatshirt and VR goggles and cross my fingers to see if that's going to be something I'm going to be interested in. I only really get 48 hits on that. Let's take the same approach and do another thing called text to image. So now I'm going to be using the power of AI to say, I'm going to put in this default size, as we know, it's just a placeholder size, and I'm going to cut and paste in student wearing hooded sweatshirt and VR goggles, and hit generate. Then I wait for the AI engine to do its magnificence. And a quick note about Adobe Firefly, which is the AI engine that's hardwired into Express and all our creative applications. It was trained on Adobe stock. So that's over 350 million assets that it was trained on. It also is very much trademark and copyright respecting. So if I say wearing hooded sweatshirt with Louisville logo on it, it has no concept of what Louisville is because you're a branded institution. It's a branded element. So if I try to put in Spider-Man swinging through Manhattan city streets, I'm gonna get some creepy dude with legs coming out of his back because brand respect, copyright respect. So Adobe Firefly is commercially safe. And that's why I have a nondescript student on this page. That text element was exactly how I had gotten this character on the page. Now, if I wanted to, I could put in green or red hooded sweatshirt, and it'll spin me up a new collection of assets that I can pick and choose from and drop it on the page. So very much we can pick and choose the character, the figure, the gender, the nationality, the ethnicity of the focus of our presentation, or at least of our subject matter that we want to have on the page. So adding content to the page is just as simple as having AI give me that helping hand. Typography. How do I get this on the page? Well, T for type. Click that T for type. I'm going to add text. Here's my text, of which I can key in anything. Stretch this out, make it a little bigger. And then from there, I can pick my font family. We have thousands of fonts. I believe it's 25,000 fonts that are available inside Adobe Express. So scroll through the list and pick whatever is hot for you. But it's very easy to change the color as we did before. Add the brand color. I can add various text effects if I wanted to have a drop shadow. I could come down to shadow and give it some kind of shadow, whether it is a little bit more prominent, or I can back it up to say, no, I don't need anything. I can also right click and duplicate. So if you give a good look and feel, you can just duplicate that element and maybe scale it down. That's how I got new space and library on the same page. Needs a backdrop. Also needs a brand. Where did I get this brand? Well, brand can be stored in something called a Creative Cloud library, or brand can be authored straight up inside Express. And remember, I was telling you about how you can build brands in Express. What's the B for brand right there? So you can easily apply your logo, your color, your fonts, and so on to this page. In fact, let me show you a brand that I have already made for my fake university. And here it is, Altura University, view all. So I have all these logos on the page. Where did I not have to go? To another application. I included them as part of my pile of assets I can make inside Express. So I don't have to go raid the R drive or try to find it on a download or pester my colleague who's co-branding this presentation with me. You just put it in Express and all you do is just one click it. And now it's on the page. Easily movable, scalable, positionable, and so on. So very easy to get brands either to author or to utilize inside Express. Backdrops, again, that comes from me using elements. Because what you don't see on this tool set are drawing tools, squares, circles, triangles, lines, octagonal shape, whatever. I can come into shapes. Here are all my shapes. So I put in circle, square, arrow, and so on, and that gets me a shape that I can now put on my page, scale, squash, stretch, and so on. But the backdrop takes a little bit more work. That's an element. Under background, I can do wavy lines. And then I get near 500 hits on wavy lines. I click it, and now it's on my page. If I want to keep editing it, I can unhook it from the background, scale it up, rotate it. You also notice too, anytime you add an element to an Express page, right-hand side here, it makes a layer. So you click on the thing you're interested in by clicking the layer. So you don't have to mess around with that object arrange, send a front, send a back nonsense. You just put it on a layer. And once it's on a layer, it's easier for me to click and choose. I can make adjustments. Maybe I can change some of the color properties of it. If there was color, it's a grayscale, so it's not really going to react. Or maybe I wanted to have some kind of effect, like I want to colorize it. Or come in and make it sort of transparent. Doesn't take much, but just using those simple parameters, I was able to very easily make a poster by using artificial intelligence to create my focus interest, typography tool by laying out my text and putting in brand-based color, using the brand aspect inside Express. Whether I author it in Express or I use one that has already been made, I can drop those brand elements on the page and then drop in a backdrop. Now, of course, I guess the last thing I want to conclude with, well, this is a great piece, but if we're starting to think more globally in this, well, okay, fictional VR lab on campus, well, maybe I need to ensure I reach a greater audience by having it be in another language. And that's what Translate is. So I'd already used the theme to go from English to French, so now I'm going to go from French to, and we get a pretty significant listing of world language. This isn't just your standard European set. Armenian, Chinese, Filipino, Finnish, Haitian Creole, Hungarian, Japanese, Kazakhstan, Macedonian, and of course, this list is growing. So if I wanted to see this in Turkish, it's going to duplicate the work. So it doesn't write over what I've made. It makes another page. And now, hopefully, I do not speak Turkish, so hopefully that is the appropriate Turkish for come to the new VR lab. We're open Monday to Friday, but very easy to do. And it gave it as another page, so when I click that page icon, I can see all the different variations. This is how I was stepping through building this particular poster. And then I can download all of them or a selected page and turn it into a PNG, JPEG, or a PDF. Let me back out. So again, very easy to create still images by laying in imagery that's either on my hard drive or by putting content derived by AI. I can establish colors and backgrounds. I can make typographic statements and set my copy and add my logo. But let's start to look at other things that have been created. In fact, I want to show you an example of a piece that I was working with another university. Let me create this and pull this down, showcasing student. I was working with Ohio State University, and this is a website that she's already graduated. Morgan graduated. She's talking about lessons learned from being a Division I rower. She wrote crew for 4 years. She used long format HTML to talk about her personal brand. Now, I know we're talking more entrepreneurial, but there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur for yourself. The point is, instead of having to go to some other type of application to build, she went into Express, she gathered her assets, and she made a very compelling story about what she learned rowing crew. And honestly, this could be laid out in about 40 minutes. It takes longer to finesse what you want to say than it is to get the stuff on the page. So she's talking about how her athletic ability gave her managerial and executive level experiences. And she used this story, because remember, we're telling stories about who we are and getting to our why. This is all done in Express. And in fact, this mode of communication is very popular right now. We're seeing a lot of this in other news stories. Like in this case, here's BBC, respected world journalism. They're talking about going back to the moon. This is going to look very familiar to what we just saw. Vertical scrolling, body copy, imagery, more body copy, linked video, infographic. It took a team of people to make this from the BBC, but for Morgan's piece, she just built it herself inside Express. So how can you build something like this in Express? Well, let's take a look. Let's go back inside. I go to that plus sign and I say, well, I want to make a web page. Now I'm ready to start telling my story. Now, of course, we want to hit somebody hard with an image that we think is going to be very compelling. So maybe I'm doing some kind of business piece concerning benefits and merits of clean energy. There's currently a fight up here. I'm in the Boston area, so offshore Massachusetts, they want to put up a windmill farm off Nantucket, and there's a lot of pushback about this. So maybe I, as an entrepreneur, want to talk about, well, hey, if you put in these windmill farms, you're going to get a lot more energy that can bring a lot more tourism, and you can spin up a lot more businesses because now you're paying less for your energy, and you can spend more time gathering people and showcasing what you have to offer. You know, wonderful New England village right out in the middle of the ocean. So I can put in a background photo just by clicking photo and then going to that pile of assets, that 200 million pile of assets that Adobe stock has, all royalty free. And I can pick the image that's most compelling for me, bring that in there. Aha, it's slowing down because I was on Wi-Fi. Let me switch to hardline and hopefully that'll speed things up. So now I have a really compelling image in the foreground, but now I can talk about I can even make sure that it's accessible. Because if I'm making a long form HTML piece, I have no real idea of who's going to be viewing this if they need a screen reading device. So I click on that cogwheel and I can give an alt tag, which will be read aloud by that screen reading technology. So it's a offshore turbine farm or whatever it is that's relevant to help describe this piece. And I click save. Now I just scroll down and I start telling my story. And that story will be composed of photos, text, buttons that upon click take me to other places, animated GIFs, videos, photo grids, you know, whatever is going to help with that story, glide shows and split layouts. These bottom three talk about more about the look and feel of presentation. So let me go back and go to my favorite website, lipsum.com, Lipsum. Great place to go to get placeholder copy. And now I have a bunch of copy that I can select, come back into Express, go to text and paste it in. Much easier to read that than to try to read somebody hammering on the keyboard. That's very distracting. But it's a lot easier to read fake Latin. So I can separate out this content. I can turn it into headlines or pull quotes or subheadlines or even bullet lists. So maybe it's an H2. I can always add a picture in between my text. Now that that picture's in place, again, looking kind of like that BBC example I was showing you about the lunar landings, this is an inline image in that the image is right in line with the copy text. What if I want it bigger? I can make it fill the screen. Now it's filling the screen and I get a little call out box for a caption. Or I can come in a window, get a little peekaboo window. Or even have it fill the whole screen. Either way, you've got three different ways of conveying your visual imagery that's going to help tell your story about the really cool idea that you want to share with the world. Let's do a peek through there. We also have split layout, where this is a lot of what Morgan had done in her example, where she was using split layout. That's what we're looking at right now. Image on the left, block of text on the right. She flip-flopped them. So I can add my image, then add my supporting text. You could put 2,000 words in here, and it'll just keep scrolling till the words are all done. Even put in a piece of video. Now, the video is coming from YouTube or Vimeo at this point in time. We're not ready to have hard drive derived video assets that'll be uploaded. Right now, it's video that is already hosted online. So I'd copy a link from YouTube, or from Vimeo, again, at this point. Or we could do something called a glide show, where I could pick a bunch of images. And there's a brave crew working on that turbine. There we go, and one more. Then I hit save, and now I get this nice, clean parallax scroll. Again, I'm just rolling the mouse up and down. And I get that little white glider box in which I can put content. And I can keep repeating, do I want to add text? Do I want to add pictures? Do I want to add a photo grid? How do I do that? Well, just pick the images you like. And then it can shuffle where they are, or say, well, I don't really want one in farmland, and then hit save, and it drops it right in place. When you're done, you hit share and publish to web. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to make a web page, single page, but a web page inside Express. The advantage of this is, if I go back to this example from Morgan, this link you're seeing right here, that is a perpetual link. So anytime Morgan decides to change this piece in future, I don't get sent a new link. I keep my original link and I hit refresh on my page. New content swaps right in. Can't go wrong. And it's reactive, meaning if I'm looking at it on my phone, it'll look one way vertically, it'll look another way horizontally, because the code is already built into the Express page to take advantage of the size of the monitor this is being read on. I love this technology. And quite honestly, I haven't touched PowerPoint in 2.5 years because, in my opinion, it's easier to share a link. It's easier to update this page. And I can look at it on multiple different devices without having to download another application. And hopefully that PowerPoint file is under 5 megabytes so it can go out the door in an email and so on. Yes, I'm aware that you can host things on SharePoint. I find this to be a little bit quicker and easier to build, make, and create. PowerPoint's good at what it does. But to that point, I'm even empowered with the ability to create presentations inside Express. So if I scroll through this list and I find the template that works for me, there's a template. There are some pre-built pages that all you have to do now is hot swap the images by coming up to the replace icon up here in the top left-hand corner, meaning if I choose this image here, I want to replace it with something else. Well, there's a good question that's being asked about, can these HTML pages be part of a domain? These are hosted on Adobe's side, and the link that you were seeing for Morgan's page is pretty much all the end user community would see. So I can't staple that to a domain that I own. I can include this as a link in my personal hosted web page, or use maybe an iframe. I would take that link and I would embed that in an iframe, and then on my hosted website, have that as embedded content. But this is only kind of Adobe hosted, beg your pardon, at this point in time. So you can make PowerPoint-esque pieces inside Express, browser-based. And again, if you don't kind of have those chops for good use of typography, color, alignment, scale, jump into a template. So again, site is multiple pages. Again, another question coming in, Annika. So this only makes single pages as opposed to an entire site with multiple nav elements. So you could easily take a link like this link and throw that on your Instagram, or throw it out in a text message, easy enough. But this will not make a genuine site, multiple page style of building. So with Express, I can make still images, I can make long format HTML, I can make presentations. I can also show you how I can have already made some video. Where is it? Offshore wind farms. There it is. Now imagine you're trying to do this as your entrepreneurship project. Like I don't live near the ocean, and I certainly don't have any pictures of video that I have. Well, you don't have to worry about that. I come into media, I come into videos, and I search for my subject matter. In this case, I get 360 hits on wind turbine. And all I did is I just one-clicked it, and here it is. It's on my environment, meaning I can scale it. And if I really wanted to have two images on screen at the same time, I could do that because
Eric,
each element. Yes, please.
this is Sherry. While you're doing that, someone has asked if you would show the alt text that you did. So as you're doing that,
Oh,
can you show the alt text one more time?
no problem. Let me go back to that project. And let me find, this was it, I believe. Okay, so first step, click the image. Second step, cogwheel, bottom right-hand corner. It's this little gear-looking icon. One click that, and now you have the window in which you can key in as much or as little of the alt tag that you will find effective for your audience.
Thank you.
Sure thing. So building that video, if you don't have video assets to use, search them out on Adobe Stock. We got lots to choose from. Or if you have it on your hard drive, you just upload from device. And then here's some footage. I downloaded this from Adobe Stock, but this is more to the point. If I have actual footage that I took with my phone and my camera and I have it living on my hard drive, great. I can go pull that asset too. No problem. I can even have transitions in between. So I have a nice cross dissolve right there. And I can build this scene with, I'll even roll the audio on this. Hopefully this will work. Offshore windmill farms are the next big step in clean energy for communities. Working on my radio voice there, I can add audio that is royalty free for that background tone that you heard. And I can even do a real-time voice recorder. So if I have my video already cut and I want to narrate my video looking at it's completed, I can do that too. And I get two different channels, one for the voiceover and one for the backdrop audio. More changes are coming to these applications. Right now, Adobe Max and Adobe Summit are two global conferences that are happening. And we're going to be seeing some really cool stuff coming into the world of Express that'll empower your means of creating some really great, compelling content. But again, don't be afraid of those templates. It's a starting place. It is not a conclusion of an idea. You can come into quick actions just to do little one-off things as you go about your daily lives building content, or this can also be used as elements in constructing your pitches, your presentations, your Shark Tankian kind of, I've got this great idea, let me tell you about something, because now you're covering it across multiple modes of communication instead of a 3-page, 12-point, half-inch margin, black text on white paper. Hit it with something intriguing. That gets the ideas flowing around, and then somebody's crawling in your head, understanding your why, because now you're telling a story about your great idea. So with that, certainly I didn't really see any other questions coming in, Sherry, but certainly.
We do. We have Charisse
Okay.
Patterson. Elena, I don't know if I can give them access to their microphone.
I think I have access. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and it's Charisse actually.
Thank you.
Thank you. So when you're creating a graphic, like saying going back to the graphic with the tennis player, if you zoom in, how can you navigate the screen? Like say if I need to like just zoom in anywhere.
Okay. You have zoom control, top right-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a bigger fan of keyboard shortcuts. So I have the command plus or equals to zoom in or zoom out. And that'll kind of allow me to jump in on the page, and then I'm just dragging or moving my mouse to get to the corners.
Okay, so I think that's actually my question. So anytime that I zoom in, I was only able to move the screen up or down. So like if you zoomed in like right where the ball is
Mm-hmm.
and say I now need to edit something like where it says invitation. Like how do I move that screen, because I've only been able just to move it up or down.
Well, I'm just moving the mouse. I'm just moving my finger across my mouse, and that's all
Huh.
I'm doing. I'm not clicking anything. I'm just moving the mouse on the page.
That's funny because I have my Express open right now and I'm moving the mouse and touching the mouse and I can only just move up or down.
Oop. Hmm. Well, I do apologize. I can't see how you're manipulating the mouse on the page and on the screen, but I don't know if you have an image selected and that's making it more challenging for you to get to that particular piece of content. You should
No,
just be able
I
to
don't have
move it around.
anything selected.
Sharice,
Okay.
I'm more than happy to. I'll pop my email into the chat here. This is Aubrey, your customer success manager. Reach out to me. I'm happy to set up a session with a screen share and we can take a look together. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Aubrey.
Aubrey.
Of course.
Well, Eric, that was mind-blowing for me. And Elena is I think she's a master user of Express. She keeps telling me she isn't, but from my skills, I know she is. And Aubrey definitely knows it as well. But I thank you so much for your time today, especially on how we are using Adobe to move forward with an entrepreneurial mindset. So if anybody has any other questions, now's the time. If not, we're going to take a break until we come back with Gerhard Fahl with IBM. Eric, I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Elna.
Thank you. We will see everybody at noon.
Thank you, Eric. This is Elena. I just steal 30 seconds from this break that we take in between sessions to inform everyone that we have a digital transformation series with Adobe. It's going to be a learning lunch happening soon on Tuesday, April 16. I'm going to put in the chat the invitation. This is open to everyone, and it will be again, for students, faculty, and staff. And we're going to have Aubrey. We heard her voice a few seconds ago, and she's going to navigate Adobe Creative Cloud. And so help us understand where to go, how to access the different programs and resources that are available at no additional cost for the University of Louisville. So this is just a little promotional moment of one of our digital transformation series that we hope are going to help you all to navigate digital resources. Other than that, if you have any last minute question, you're more than welcome to put it in the chat, and either we answer right now, or worst case scenario, we forward additional or last minute questions to Eric and Aubrey later.
Thanks so much, Elena. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Eric.
Sure thing. Go create some cool stuff.